Breaking news, breaking news. Bricks and Minifigs has settled with Brian Mansell. You did not miss here. There has been a settlement. There has been a settlement as of 2 hours ago. Today is Wednesday, August 19th, 12:42 p.m. Eastern, and this is a press release directly from Bricks and Minifigs' own publishing, press people. BAM Franchising and Mansell family reach resolution over Star Wars collection dispute. Mediation allowed parties to exchange additional records, resolve their dispute, and align on pursuing appropriate remaining claims respecting unauthorized consignment deal by former owner of closed store. Okay, what? This is my first time reading. I didn't even read it. I saw this headline and I just rushed to film this. So let's read it together. Salt Lake City, Bricks and Minifigs, an authorized Lego reseller specializing in buying trading. We know who they are. Announced today that it has reached a comprehensive and amicable. I'm so like, because I know. For this to have happened, they had to have agreed to make Brian Mansell whole in some way. So this is really great news. I don't think Brian Mansell was just going to be settling for no reason, but you'll be able to hear his words directly because he has agreed to come on my channel sometime this week or maybe next week to talk about this. So stand by for that. But I haven't even read this myself. I haven't talked to him about it at all. Let's see. Today, announced they have reached a comprehensive and amicable resolution with the Mansell family regarding the dispute surrounding a Lego Star Wars collection originally consigned to a former franchise owner, that's Crystal, of the Bricks and Minifigs Salem, Keizer, Oregon store. The agreement resolves the disputes between Bricks and Minifigs, its leadership, and the Mansell family, and follows an extensive legal and mediation process in which the parties exchanged records and information that provided a more complete understanding of the circumstances surrounding the original consignment arrangement. Wow. Look at the big part right here. As part of the resolution, the Mansell family has been made whole by BAM for the losses associated with their consignment arrangement with Crystal. Including assignment of their claims. Hold on. Part of the resolution, the Mansell family has been made whole by Bricks and Minifigs for the losses associated with their consignment. So the Mansell family's been made whole by Bricks and Minifigs, including the assignment to Bricks and Minifigs of Brian Mansell's claims arising from the original contract. And the Mansells have agreed to provide relevant records should Bricks and Minifigs want to sue Crystal. Oh my God. Whoa. There's a quote from Ammon. Quote, "We are very glad that through mediation, we were finally able to sit down with the Mansells, exchange relevant records and information, and develop a more complete picture of what occurred," said Ammon McNeff. Most importantly, the Mansells have now been compensated for their loss, and rather than continuing to be on opposite sides of the issue, we can move forward based on a fuller body of information. Well, when you say rather than being on opposite sides, so what? They're joining forces? Bricks and Minifigs had previously offered to assist the Mansells in addressing the circumstances surrounding the collection on multiple occasions. Yeah, well, that's up for debate. Okay, I don't think they really did. But again, this is coming from BAM's people. They are pleased that the mediation process and the broader exchange of information has now created an opportunity for the parties to move forward with their lives. Bricks and Minifigs also reiterated the impact of the lengthy dispute and the impact it had on the Mansell family, and even apologized. Bricks and Minifigs apologized to the Mansells and put it in writing that they did that. Good job, team. Good job, team. Good job, internet. We did it. Good job, Ben, obviously. Good job, Mansells, the most. But, wow. Wow. With our minds together, look what we can do. They apologized to him, too, for the uncertainty, the losses and pain suffered during the investigation. Quote, whatever disagreements existed during this process, the Mansells experienced a genuine loss and a great deal of uncertainty and frustration, said Ammon McNeff. Am I in the twilight zone? Let me check the date. It's not April 1st, right? Quote, we regret that we were not more quickly able to access the information necessary to fully understand and resolve the situation, as our goal from the beginning was to help make this family whole, regardless of who was at fault. That wasn't your goal from the beginning. They still lying, but girl, whatever. We are pleased to have resolved this matter with the Mansells so we can remain focused on supporting our customers, employees, and more than 300 independent franchisees who make up our community. The parties have created a joint statement which can be read here. Let's go there. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, here's the joint statement. Resolution reached. Bricks and Minifigs and Mansell family settle consignment of rare collection through voluntary mediation. This is dated as of today. This is on bricksandminifigs.com. Joint statement from BAM Franchising and the Mansell family. BAM Franchising Inc., Ammon McNeff, Matt McNeff, Baker Salem, Josh Johnson, Brandon Best, and the Mansell family. Baker Salem is interesting. And the Mansell family are pleased to announce that they have reached a comprehensive and amicable resolution of a private civil dispute relating to the Lego collection. The collection was originally consigned to Crystal Gorman Law Gorman of the Bricks and Minifigs Salem, Kaiser, Oregon store. This settlement agreement is a compromise of disputed claims. They still disagree on some stuff, but they compromised. It's not an admission of liability, wrongdoing, or unlawful conduct by anyone. The Mansells confirm they have been compensated. This is a joint statement. Thank God. It is awesome. This is awesome. The Mansells have been compensated by Bricks and Minifigs for the losses associated with the consignment arrangement and are releasing all their claims against Bricks and Minifigs. Its leadership, Baker Salem, Josh Johnson, Brandon Best, and any franchisee. Bricks and Minifigs, the McNeffs, Baker Salem, Josh Johnson, Brandon Best will likewise dismiss their lawsuit against Brian Mansell. Wow. So what does this mean for the... I'll do final thoughts at the end. Okay, so through the exchange of records and information during the legal and mediation processes, the parties developed a more complete understanding of what occurred. The underlying dispute arose from a consignment contract between the Mansell family and the store in Salem, Kaiser, Oregon. Bricks and Minifigs, Baker Salem, Josh Johnson, Brandon Best were not parties to this consignment agreement. The Mansells' loss arose in part from the sale, accounting, storage, and disposition of inventory by the former operator of the store, which is Crystal. So they're still throwing her under the bus. And she has an active RICO lawsuit against them. As part of the settlement, Brian Mansell has assigned to BAM his claims under the original consignment contract. Bricks and Minifigs may elect to pursue these claims against those responsible. They're going to sue Crystal or add her to the lawsuit. The Mansells have agreed to provide relevant records in support of Bricks and Minifigs' claims. The parties believe this places responsibility for remedying any remaining fault with the appropriate parties. Bricks and Minifigs recognizes that Brian Mansell and the Mansell family experienced a genuine loss, prolonged uncertainty, and considerable frustration after the original contract was not properly administered by the former operator of the store and during the transition from the former operator to the replacement franchisees, which were corporate agents. Bricks and Minifigs regrets that it did not more. I bet they do. Oh, this is too good. Bricks and Minifigs regrets that it did not more quickly access information necessary to understand and resolve this matter. Bricks and Minifigs has issued an unqualified apology to the Mansell family for the losses and pain suffered from the events surrounding the dispute. The parties recognize that many Bricks and Minifigs franchises and employees had no involvement with the events surrounding this dispute, and we hope that this resolution brings closure to everyone affected and all may return to their normal business activities and personal lives. You know, this is ironic for so many reasons, but one of them is originally to give Brian his Legos back, the BAM parties wanted him to apologize. I didn't see him apologizing in this press release. Frankly, he has nothing to apologize for. But now Bricks and Minifigs apologized. Now, my closing thoughts or my final thoughts on this are, what does this mean for the lawsuit, Ben Schneider's lawsuit? Because I've kind of said this before. The case is a lot worse for BAM. It's way harder for Bricks and Minifigs to win this if Brian Mansell is one of the defendants. If Brian Mansell's sitting up there, I mean, he's the one that got his Legos stolen, or his family, you know, they got their Legos stolen, and then he got sued for it. So I've always said he was the strongest link there. I mean, you never know what you're going to get on a jury. You never know if they're going to look at, you know, these scoundrels who came from California. You never know. But like, Brian Mansell and his family and their losses were real. They were legitimate and substantive. They were material, and they did nothing wrong at all. I'm not saying Ben did. I'm just saying it's just so much clearer. Like, okay, he brought it to this business. He thought, you know, what does this mean for the lawsuit? Does this mean maybe Ben and Bricks and Minifigs are going to settle? Does this mean... They said they're dropping the claims. I mean, this is interesting too. Brian Mansell has assigned to Bricks and Minifigs his claims under the original consignment contract. Bricks and Minifigs may elect to pursue these claims against those responsible. Now, I'm assuming they're talking about Crystal, but this is like that assignment of ownership interest. Didn't Brian already kind of do that, like in the video, to Ben and Sheldon and them? So now Ben and Bam now gonna have to go back and forth, like who actually owns the interest and the rights and the this and the that. Well, Brian has been paid, compensated, whatever that means. I'm assuming that means paid, but they said compensated for, you know, I guess so what they did is they probably went in, they did a really fine-grained, meticulous accounting, kind of similar to like what CoffeeZilla did. And, you know, these are the ones that were in the store on this day. These are the ones that we can say were there. These are the ones that are missing. These are the ones unaccounted for. These are the ones that got sold to M&R, and just went through item by item and item by item and came to an amount where it's like, all right, Bricks and Minifigs, this is what I think you owe. Give me this amount. Whatever it was, you know, they negotiated that amount, but there's still an outstanding amount. So let's go back to that original article. The Business Wire one. The parties confirmed the underlying dispute arose from a consignment contract. The joint statement says that the Mansell's loss arose from the sales, accounting, storage, and disposition of inventory of the former operator. Wow. This is a full Crystal law under the bus, or a compromise of disputed claims. It says they confirm they've been compensated by BAM for the losses associated with their consignment arrangement and are releasing all legal claims against Bricks and Minifigs and its leadership and the rest. Wow. Through an exchange of records. Okay. This is a joint statement, and it does say the Mansell's loss. I missed this. I missed this the first time. I mean, I didn't miss it. I read it, but like, wow. The Mansell's loss arose in part from the sale, accounting, storage, disposition. So in part, the Mansell's loss arose from Crystal law. That is what the joint statement says. Now, this Business Wire statement, which is not the joint statement, kind of misquotes the joint statement for what it's worth. Because here's the joint statement on bricksandminifigs.com. And it says the Mansell's loss arose in part from the sale, accounting, storage, and disposition of inventory by the former operator of the store. In part. But look at this. The businesswire.com version says the joint statement further provides the Mansell's loss arose from the sales, accounting, storage, disposition of inventory, not in part. So I think that is a little bit dishonest to rephrase it as if it was the whole entire, because when I read it there, I was like, wait, what? I didn't read that. I didn't what I remember. In part. So yes, it is true that Brian Mansell, the joint statement does say that part of the losses for the Mansell family arose from Crystal. But the Bricks and Minifigs people, because they're just dishonest liars, are already twisting this very good joint statement. There's really no reason to re-twist it all around, but that's what you get when you hire these PR companies, I guess. Whatever. I don't even care. I mean, I do care, and I plan to continue pointing out all their lies. But right now, I think we should celebrate. That's my opinion. This whole saga started because of they stole a dying old man's Legos, which I don't think the man is dying. I think he's in remission, y'all. Stop saying dying. That's bad to manifest, okay? But anyway, it was at the time. He was in poor health. And this all started because that family was wronged. Now, there's been a lot of wrongs that have taken place along the way that still need to be righted. But this was kind of that original sin. And it's good news for the public. I don't know how good a news it is for the Gormans, because Crystal Law and Ben Gorman, because it seems like Bam is going to now use this as leverage to then assert against Chris and Crystal Law and her husband in court, which, I mean, they're the ones suing Bam for RICO. So we'll have to see how it all plays out. I wanted to come through and let y'all know this breaking news. They have settled. Congratulations to the Mansell family. I know they must be relieved to have this chapter book closed and behind them. And shout out to Reckless Ben for doing what he does best and really, truly, of all of us in this world, making a real difference. You know, golly, so many of us want to make a difference. And I can say with certainty that Reckless Ben Schneider, he can affect change. I wanted to give a quick word from today's video's sponsor. I usually don't take sponsorships, but this product actually impressed me so much. This is the Flash XL from eWin Gaming, and it is amazing. Truly, this is an incredible chair, especially for the price. First of all, and probably the most impressive thing to me, is these armrests. They are so articulable. You can move them up, you can move them down, you can move them in, you can move them out. There's even this button right here that lets you move them to the angle open and more closed in. This is the best part of the chair because I cannot sit still. I have to be moving all day. Humans are really not meant to be sitting in a chair all day. So I like to sit like this. I do my makeup in this chair. I'm cross-legged in this chair. Most of the time, I'm either sitting on top of one of my feet or I'm sitting kind of cross-legged in the chair. So this one is really working for me. This magnetic headrest is amazing. And the lumbar support, apparently it goes 4 ways, a built-in 4-way lumbar support. Y'all, I haven't even moved it from the position it's in since I got the chair because it feels so good on my back. It really lets me to stretch back and stretch my back out on these super long live streams, and truly I think it's really competing with chairs that cost maybe 4 times as much as this one. If you're in the market for a new chair, I would absolutely recommend you go check out eWin. I have a 25% off code linked below, code BJ's discount. It is linked down below. This is the Flash Series XL. That's all I really had for this one. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation. Neither are opinions. Everybody's innocent until proven guilty. Love you, Minnie. Okay, bye.